everyone. Indian Fever. You can be part of the fun. You're the winner at every game. That's where the excitement begins. So catch Indian Fever. Be a believer with the Cleveland Indians.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February 12th, 2019 Lake County Sentinel podcast. I'm your host, publisher, and sports editor of the Lake County Sentinel. We've got quite a bit to talk about today. Today is one of the best days of the year, as baseball spring training opened this morning, as pitchers and catchers reported to their various places. The Indians pitchers and catchers reported to Goodyear, Arizona, and they will get their physicals. I believe the first workout is tomorrow. The first workout with the pitchers and catchers scheduled is tomorrow. Today they might have thrown on their own with some supervision, but tomorrow is the first official workout, I believe. I believe position players report Saturday. So what we have here is we'll go over some of the other stuff. The Cavs play tomorrow night at the Q against the Brooklyn Nets. They beat the Knicks last night 107-104. It was nice to see Kevin Love back in action for more than a couple minutes. He played 16 last night in the first half, and he scored 14 points. So really nice, positive for to see Kevin Love out there. So with Kevin Love out there, they were better. I mean, they did just barely beat the Knicks, but a win's a win. And it's nice to see a win. Obviously, we've seen a lot of losses. So a win is a win, and it's nice to see. And I think the wins will be more frequent with Love back and once Tristan Thompson gets healthy. Colin Sexton had a nice night, and they won 107-104, holding on for the victory, holding off the Knicks for the 107-104 victory. You can read about it on LakeCountySentinel.com. Our Cavs beat writer, Stone Lexington, wrote a very nice article about last night's game, as he does with every home game. Does an excellent job covering the Cavs for the Lake County Sentinel. A really good job. Stone has been, this is his 12th season covering the Cavs, and he does a phenomenal job. And I really appreciate the work that he does for the Sentinel. So let's move on to the Cleveland Monsters, who are just not having a good season. They are struggling. I know they've had some injuries and some guys have gotten called up, which is all part of minor league sports. But it's somewhat disappointing to see them struggling like they are. They now have 50 points. They're in 7th place out of 8 teams in the American League North Division. They play the Rochester Americans tonight at 7 o'clock at the Q. They are in 1st place. So tonight's game will not be easy. But if they could win, that could close the gap. But it certainly has been somewhat of a disappointing season for the Monsters. But for a lot of reasons. It's not because they haven't had talent. It's because of they've had injuries and players getting called up to the Blue Jackets, which is the main purpose of a minor league team, so they can feed the big team, the big club. And that's what the Monsters have been doing. So let's see if they could get a win tonight at 7 o'clock at the Q against the Rochester Americans. Now we'll move to the Mentor Icebreakers, who are an expansion team in the Federal Hockey League. They have had a tough season, and it continues. They play on Friday night at home against the Carolina Thunderbirds. The Icebreakers are in last place in the Federal Hockey League standings out of 6 teams. They are in 6th place with 29 points. And to show you the gap, the Carolina Thunderbirds are their opponent on Friday, and they are in 1st place, and they have 100 points. So there is a large gap between 1st place and last place in the Federal Hockey League. I've been trying to do some research and see where the Blue Jackets stand, or the Icebreakers stand, as far as points in a season for like an all-time low, and for teams that have completed the season. And right now, it looks like they probably aren't going to be the worst of all time from what I've seen. But I'm only a few years back here. I've got to continue to look. The 29 points is not great. We know that. I see so far there have been some teams with less points in a season, but they have not finished the year. Okay. Danville, which is a team that is still in the league, they in 2013-14 finished the season with 37. They played 57 games, so it looks like the Icebreakers will have a chance to pass that. They weren't even an expansion team that year, Danville. There's some other years here where teams did not finish the year and had less points, I'm noticing. But Danville that year looks like it probably, for a team that finished the season, Danville in 2013-14 looks like they had the least amount of points with 37. So it looks like the Icebreakers can get past that. They played 57 games this year. I believe the Icebreakers played 56. So they have 20 games to get 8 points. I feel confident they can do it. So, yeah, well, they're bad. Remember this. The worst team ever in the league wasn't even an expansion team. So there's something to be said. The Icebreakers are fighting. Danville looks like it's not been much of a franchise, but they seem to survive. They've been around. Looks like this is their 8th season. So, like I said, the Icebreakers are in action on Friday night at 7:35 at Mentor Ice Arena against the Carolina Thunderbirds, who are in 1st place. The Icebreakers are in last. Let's move on now to spring training. It opened today. As I mentioned at the top of the show, pitchers and catchers reported for the Indians. I know there's a lot of concern because the Indians made a lot of moves in the offseason. But I feel like a lot of the moves the Indians made in the offseason, even though there's been a lot of criticism, and I know people say I'm an Indians honk, and I'm always going to justify what they do. But I see the future, and I know the future a little bit of what they see coming. And look, they want to compete past next season. They want to compete past 2020. They want to be able to win the division in 2020, 21, 22, and beyond. They don't want to just say, oh, we have a short window and it's closing and we're not going to compete for 5 years. No, they want to try to extend this window. And I feel like with some of the moves they made this winter, they are going to be able to extend the window. I know it's hard for fans to understand. I get it. But by cutting some payroll and maybe adding some next year or the year after, which they're going to have to do, okay, and they will do, I think. I'm confident they will. Was I happy to see them cut payroll? No. But when you're in a division where you don't have to win 100 games to win the division, you can do what they did and still succeed. And look, no one knows what will happen in postseason. Some of the best teams ever have failed in postseason. They have. Some of the best teams ever have failed in postseason. Look at the 1990 Oakland Athletics. They were going to just run through the playoffs. They were going to sweep the American League Championship Series. They were going to sweep the World Series. Those Reds that didn't have a lot of talent. And what happened? The Reds swept them in 4 games. So don't tell me that you have to have the highest payroll to win a World Series, because you don't. Don't tell me that you can't cut payroll and still be a successful team, because you can. But we know how it goes in Cleveland. No matter what the Indians do, people find negative. Even though they have won 3 consecutive Central Divisions, made the playoffs 4 out of the last 6 years, they still get the negative. We're going to read real quick the 40-man roster, and then we'll probably move on to politics right after that. But here's the 40-man, starting with pitchers. Cody Anderson, Trevor Bauer, Shane Bieber, Carlos Carrasco, Adam Simber, Mike Clevenger, John Edwards, a reliever, Nick Goody, a reliever, Brian Hand, a reliever, Sam Henches, a starter, Chi Wei Hugh, a reliever, Corey Kluber, Gian Carlos Mejia, a starter / reliever, Tyler Olson, reliever, Dan Otero, reliever, Oliver Perez, reliever, Adam Plutko, starter / long reliever, Neil Ramirez, reliever, Jeffrey Rodriguez, starter / reliever, Danny Salazar, starter, we know that, Ben Taylor, in between, Nick Whitgren, reliever, catchers, Eric Haas, Roberto Perez, and Kevin Plawecki. Infield, Bobby Bradley, Yu Chang, Jason Kipnis, Francisco Lindor, Max Moroff, Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, and Eric Stamets. Outfield, Greg Allen, Jake Bowers, Jordan Luplow, Leonese Martin, Oscar Mercado, Tyler Naquin, and Bradley Zimmer. One word on Greg Allen, or let me tell you one thing on Greg Allen. I looked at some rankings last night, 3 different places. And people who wanted Andrew McCutchen, well, don't worry about it, because in all 3, Greg Allen's ranked ahead of him. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. People who criticize the Tribe for everything. That's all the time we have to talk about sports today. We're going to be back with the political portion of our show right after this timeout. Welcome back to the second half of the Lake County Sentinel podcast. We'll discuss some politics and news. The good news is that, I guess it's good news. You never know. With Donald Trump, you never know. He could turn it into bad news. He's good at that. But the good news is Congress, both sides, Democrats and Republicans, both sides, have agreed to a compromise to keep the government open. They've agreed. Both sides. House Democrats, House Republicans, Senate Democrats, Senate Republicans have agreed to a compromise to keep the government open. The only one obstacle is Donald Trump, who indicated earlier today that he may not sign it because, the infant we have in the White House didn't get his way, didn't get everything he wanted. Well, that's what happens when you're president sometimes. And there's other branches of government, not just you. You are not Donald Trump, the dictator. You are Donald Trump, president. And you have to work with Congress. You don't tell them what to do. They're going to do what they want to, and you have to compromise. So he's going to have to compromise on this. So let's not mince words on this. If the government shuts down this time, as last time, it is 100% on Donald Trump. Because both sides, Democrat and Republican, in the House and Senate, have agreed to a deal. The only person who isn't agreeing to this deal, maybe, is Donald Trump. I guess we'll have to wait and see if they roast him on Fox News tonight. If they roast him on Fox News, Rush Limbaugh today, earlier, I don't know, and Ann Coulter on Fox News, if they roast him, he may give in and say, no, I'm not signing. Because he seems to listen to them. A guy who seems so tough seems to be controlled by two people. So let's just remember that. If the government shuts down on Saturday, it will be because of Donald Trump and only because of Donald Trump. No one else. No one else. We're going to see we'll see. I mean, who knows what he'll do? He's so unpredictable. It's amazing. You don't know what he's going to do. Hopefully he signs it. Hopefully people convince him you have to sign it. You can't shut the government down again. He may lose some supporters if he does it this time. I don't know, though, because, like I said, they believe pretty much anything he does is right. So I don't know how much support he would lose if he shuts it down again. All I know is those federal workers that go to work every day do not deserve to suffer because he's a baby. Because he acts like a child. So hopefully he signs it and the government stays open. Also, earlier today, he's not only the crybaby in chief, but he is also the hypocrite in chief. And the hypocrite in chief earlier today said that Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman, who is a Muslim, her comments about Jews the other day that were wrong. They were definitely wrong. And she was chastised by many, many Democrats for her comments, including Nancy Pelosi. He called for her to resign today. He is the last person that should be calling for anyone to resign. Okay? Anyone to resign. How many comments has he made that have been anti-Semitic? How many? I don't even know. I can't even count. I know I can't count on two hands. Yet he's calling for her to resign. That is a perfect example of pot calling the kettle black. Okay? That Donald Trump wants Omar to resign over her comments, even though he has tweeted and said much, much worse since he's been president. But of course, he'll probably tell you he's president. He can say whatever he wants. Okay, well, she got elected. She could say whatever she wants, right? Even though her comments were dead wrong. Dead wrong. They were dead wrong. Let's not mince words. They were. But I don't know if they were worthy of resigning. He's never resigned over the stuff he said. So why does he think that she should resign when he's made comments that were much worse? Okay? It doesn't make any sense. But that's the hypocrisy of the Trump administration and the Trump supporter. They believe they can say whatever they want, but if someone else says something, boom, they jump right on it. And they want them to resign. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If he wants her to resign, well, then he should resign too. Because he said just as bad or worse than she has. Much worse. Of course, he doesn't want her on the committee. He doesn't want anyone on the committee that'll hold him accountable. It's just amazing. And what amazes me is there's people that support this guy that I always thought, a lot of them I thought were good, common sense thinking people. And I'm wondering about some of these people now. You know, that I thought were good people that had common sense. I'm beginning to wonder now. You know, what kind of people are they? Are they just hateful racists? I mean, I saw signs of it with some of them. You know, people that I've known since I was a kid. And what, you know, since I growing up, I saw signs of them. Some of them wanted, you know, they wanted the basketball hoops in Wycliffe taken down several years back because non-residents, which let's not mince words here, people. When you say non-resident in Wycliffe, you mean African-American from Euclid or Cleveland. That's what non-resident means in Wycliffe. All right. And these people know who they are that said this and that wanted this done. And they are the same people that are supporting Donald Trump today. Okay? They are. They were racist 10 years ago, and they're racists now. All right? So let's not mince words about that. They want Omar gone because she poses a threat to them. She scares them. Anybody who isn't a white male poses a threat to the Trump supporter because they only believe that anyone who should speak or have a voice is a white male. Everybody else is beneath them and should not have a voice. That is how the Trump supporter thinks. That is at least how the Trump supporter who is still in charge now, or who is still supporting Donald Trump, thinks now. There were a lot of people that voted for Donald Trump because they didn't like Hillary Clinton. Now they're regretting that. They are regretting that, and shame on those people too. But at least some of them have realized what they did and now have changed their tune. And it's just the hardcore Trump supporters that are still supporting him no matter what he does. And it's unbelievable that these people are still supporting this guy. But because they have the same agendas and the same thoughts in their minds of how they judge people by skin color, by gender, by sexual orientation. That's why they're still supporting him, because they still have the same hate in their hearts that he has in his. So let's not forget that. They don't want the Canadian border shut because white people come through there. They want the southern border shut because brown-skinned people come through there. We went a little over last night, so we're going to cut it a little short tonight. And I'm going to do the stock market real quick here. It closed at 25,425.76 today. It was up 372 points. Since Donald Trump took office, it's gone up 5,507.76 points for a 21.66% increase. Well, at this point of Barack Obama's presidency, it had gone up 4,273.26 points for a 34.81 increase. So the stock market was still better and increasing more under Barack Obama than it has under the supposed economic wizard, Donald Trump. So I hope everyone has a nice evening. Hopefully we'll talk to you tomorrow. And have a good night and stay dry.